Welcome to another edition of the Bandwagon Podcast. And today I've got a very special guest and somebody who's come into prominent light, I would say, probably over the last 18 months to 2 years. He's I'll go from his previous guys in terms of a health doctor and somehow finding himself in a humanitarian crisis in the middle of a political kind of debate. I won't spoil it at this point. We'll get into it a little bit more, but I'd like to welcome Dr. Swaiman to the Bandwagon Podcast.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you for sparing that. I know you're extremely busy at the moment, but I always wanted to, you came into light on social media, and the first time I saw you, I'll never forget. I was like, wow, this guy knows what he's, from a healthcare point of view, like my background is like a bit of public health as well. So, but some of the things that you were saying was like really hitting, a lot of these key issues. But I want to work my way up to those points. But I just want to know, in terms of, from your background, you left India at a very young age and went to live into America. How difficult was that for you, especially trying to settle in a new life over there?
I didn't know how long it was going to be. So I left for 5 days. So that was the plan, right? When I came for the protest, then it turned out to be a month. And then, basically it was that, we started imagining that we were going to be here till 2024. So there was never a time we were like, oh, this might be over tomorrow, or, this protest might be over the next month, or this protest might go on to. So all that thought always kept in your mind. So you never knew how long really you were going to be here for. So I didn't have a mindset. It was extremely hard because, not that you were in India, but you were in a slum. If you were to consider our protest site, it was, literally a slum. We lacked water, we lacked basic necessities. I suffered through a skin condition that lasted for about 5 months. I had fungal infection literally all over my body that I, fought through. So it was, there was a lot of, it was hard. But what gave me power was, if it was hard for me, it was 10 times harder for the other people, because at least I had money. I had the power to go out and buy something, right? But there were so many people who didn't have that power, that they didn't have the resources to go out and buy some of the stuff that I was able to. I mean, for me, it was even hard. I mean, I'm not going to say it was easy, but for them, so looking at other people sometimes gave me power that I was okay. It also, what I got out of that, 12 plus month stint was to realize how lucky we are to have everything, to be able to come back to our family at night, to be able to drink that coffee in the morning on our way to work, and to be able to go to the gym after work, or just be able to go to work, or having that thing like, hey, there's going to be a Sunday, all those things that we kind of I took granted for, took for granted, that I realized that were special. So it was hard, but it was also memorable. I made a lot of family. I made a lot of friends. Life changed. Everything about my life basically turned upside down.
You kind of slightly jumped a little bit forward, but you moved to America when you were 10. Is that right?
Yes, I moved to America.
Yeah.
How hard was it in America?
Yeah.
Oh man, you should have stopped me.
No, it's okay. We'll catch it. The podcast, it's all right. It's free flowing. Don't worry.
So, man, it was extremely hard. I came from a joint family. I don't know your viewers if they understand, but basically all my uncles and aunts, and we all lived in. We had two houses. We had a city house and we had a village house, and we had servants, and we had literally anything we really wanted. We had, we lived a good life. Played cricket, played hockey with my cousins, and so we had a really good life. And I don't know what got into my dad's head, I guess, brain, but it was basically that life. The education system in Punjab was on the downtrend. Everything that was going on in Punjab, a lot of families in Punjab moved out of Punjab at that time because of the way things were working. You couldn't trust the government. You basically didn't know what to do. And I think out of just pure anger and pure whatever resentment, people left India. And then our family was part of that, So my dad left India because of for a better future for us, for education wise. Basically, was for education and a better future. And it was extremely hard because it was to go from a family where you had servants, and my dad didn't sell any land. So his goal, he's very like principled oriented. That we're gonna go and we're gonna make a living. And I'm like, you basically imagine going to a new country and you have no money. So it was one of those things where I worked. When I was 10, my second day I started working with my dad at a gas station, pumping gas, and the gas tank was at a higher location than my height. So that's how life started in America. Language barrier, same thing. Every immigrant, same way. Nothing special. We all work hard. We all worked hard, but thank God, my dad believed in education. And my mom, she was a double MA in India. She did another master's degree in America at age of 50, going from Jersey to New York every day, like a hectic schedule. But she became a librarian there, and then that kind of opened the door for education again. In our family, we hold education kind of very high. So, I became a tutor in college. I was a tutor for English. I was a tutor for biology and psychology at my college. I topped, and I did well in my medical school. I was top one. So I did well when it came, because I think whatever I do, try to take a challenge. I try to do my best, whatever that means. But so life was hard, but I think I did some sports. I did wrestling, and for whatever reason it was okay. It was okay, and it worked out, and I became a doctor. And Punjab was always in my heart, and I always wanted to give back. And I made a promise to myself when I got into cardiology that I would give my 1 year of full pay, my first year of full pay as a cardiologist, to my village. And I never knew what that meant. And basically, it was in my last year of cardiology fellowship. I got into my interventional fellowship, and I left that during the protest. And I didn't know that 1 year God was going to take it by himself, and I didn't have to do anything. So not just my money, it actually took me to India, and I basically spent 1+ years in the protest.
Your adaptive skills are clearly evident and shown, in that lifestyle, and it, your family have demonstrated that in what you've just said. In terms of some of those key skills, when you came back over, you had your calling to come over because it was a family health scare that brought you over to the protest. How quickly did you start realizing that your skills were actually going to be from studying to actual practical use very, very quickly?
If I would have seen this before, like if I had seen this coming, I would have the way I went to school, the way I studied would have been totally different. Now, when I talk to medical students, I would tell them, be ready for the field. You never know what life is going to throw at you. I was always ready for that perfect hospital, having everything done already, and being able to kind of have that room which is fully sterile, and it was nothing like that. You're basically in an open field in the middle of COVID. Hygiene crisis, people having diarrhea, vomiting because of sanitization issues. Again, malaria, dengue, COVID. Put all those together in India. Imagine we go to Punjab or India, and we're already scared that we're going to have a hygiene crisis. Now imagine going to a slum, and in the slum you have literally almost hundreds of thousands of people. That's how it started. And lack of water, lack of milk, lack of food, lack of supplies, daily, people not being able to take a shower or not able to take a bath, not being able to go to the bathroom properly. It was challenging. It was a mess, but somehow God always gave us whatever we needed at the right time. And we all made it through, except 700 plus who basically passed away. It was a challenge. It was hard. It was a lesson of a lifetime. It's probably something I would never want to do again.
So, for some people who are listening in or watching this podcast, what was your understanding of what was happening from the protest point of view at that point? Because obviously, things were happening at a very quick pace. What was your understanding of it before going from America over to Punjab?
So I did my homework. So this protest was very different. It started in Punjab, where there was a lot of people, trying to guide people and tell people what was happening. And it kind of took a year to that. Like when I would come home from work, I would actually put on YouTube and I would listen to some of the things that were going on in Punjab every day. And it became almost like a headache where I would go to work and I would just like get mad at myself for not being able to go to India and not being able to help. Like I knew it was COVID. I knew I was a doctor. I knew that there could be a mess, but I still wouldn't take that step towards going to India. And there's just one day where I was like, you know what, it's enough. Like, I have to go. Like, yes, my work is important. My life is important, but I signed up to be a doctor for something else. So I made it, I talked to my family. I made a decision. I went to India. It was challenging. What was your question, man? I'm so tired. I'm sorry.
Sorry. No. What I was...
Oh yeah, no, idea of the protest. Yes.
Yeah.
So before I went, I'm sorry. I had a long day.
I know. We are different timelines, so it's okay. It's cool.
So before I went to the protest, I made sure to do my homework, and the reason was a lot of protests sometimes are politically driven, and I didn't want to be played into that. Like I didn't want to be played into somebody's hands, and this happens in India all the time. So I kind of looked at the 3 laws and I talked to some people. Like I basically talked to some very high up people who basically knew what they were talking about. I had no idea. I'm not a farmer, right? I'm a doctor. I'm not sure. So I went through those 3 laws, and when they told me, yes, it was theirs, whatever the Indian farmers were doing, it was legitimate and it was needed and it was the call of the hour and they should do what they were doing. And then I kind of was like, you know what? So if these people are actually fighting for their livelihood and their fight is right, and I'm a doctor and I have to go. So I think I studied the 3 laws before I went down. I knew COVID, 3 laws were passed that could basically hurt the livelihood of a lot of people, add corruption to the already corrupted system in India, and would affect Punjab the most out of maybe all the states, because we were Punjab, Haryana, we are kind of limited on agriculture for our earnings. So realizing that my people, I mean, I consider everybody my people, but wherever I came from, were in trouble, and that the odds were that they were, that they could be, really, they could be, I don't know what you say, lathi charge in English, but basically, people could be beaten, and there could be, you could shoot up. I mean, the first thing that came into your mind anytime this happens was 1984 Punjab. That a lot of people now hold protests and hold pictures and do everything, and we all look back and say, what could we have done better? So I didn't want to be in that situation where what could I have done better at that time? The biggest thing you can do is go to the place and help with your own hands. So I think I didn't want to be in a situation where I regret for the rest of my life. So I went down.
What did day one look like?
Oh man, it was a little bit of rain. It was just so gloomy. I had no idea. Like so there were 2 borders, right? Singhu border and Tikri border. People from my part of the Punjab were at Singhu border, but I was called for help at Tikri border. That was where like the Malwa region of the Punjab was. I have never been to that kind of place, that side of the Punjab much. Interacting with those people was going to be different. I had no idea who anybody was at that place. I had no idea about farm unions. I never worked with farm unions. I didn't know any of the leaders, like, from Tikri border, who are they going to be? So imagine you are a doctor, you want to help, and you go into like a location where you have hundreds of thousands of people, and you don't have a chair, you don't have a table, you don't know where you're going to sleep at night, you don't know what you're going to eat, you don't know you don't have a car, you don't have a license, so like I basically got there. I'm like, hey, I'm from America. I'm a doctor and I want to help out. And what I was expecting was, yeah, man, Doctor America, like, come on, like, let's go, let's take you to that VIP room, and we'll get you a nice table, a nice room, and you can set up a clinic. And that's what I like. When I got there, people were like, okay, well, you know what, go ahead, like, just do your thing. Like, what, like, everybody was busy, like nobody really cared. Like, everybody had their own issues, and somebody was trying to gather their water, somebody was trying to set up their own stage, or everybody was busy. So what I ended up doing, and then we basically walked around, and we wanted to search for a good location where we set up a medical. And then basically once I set up, I bought some medication. I had some medication that I brought from America as well. So I basically set up my table, and I started making calls and like asking for help. Like, hey, people come, and then I started seeing patients. And then basically by the end of the day, I had volunteers that had started to come in. And it was such a great thing that basically I met, from my third or fourth day, a kid who basically stayed on with me for 12 months. So imagine that. Like, I basically, you can say I picked up a partner. Yeah. And then I had, literally every day, every other day, I would pick up new folks. Some would leave and some would stay on. And literally there were some who basically stayed on me, with me for the rest of the journey. So it was amazing, like how you just go alone and you basically make a family, and then people just like something that you had to offer, and I like what they had to offer, and we started connecting. And we basically I remember day one, we slept in a tent outside. I think I didn't shower for like 3 days when I got there. I didn't bath for 3 days, and like I had no idea. Like, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know where the end was. I just knew that the government couldn't, go on with this forever. Like, I knew that the end would have to be like in 7 days or 10 days. Like, how can you put your people through this, right? But obviously they weren't listening, and slowly we went from tents into how, like, we built homes, and so became, our family became bigger, and things got easier as we progressed along. But it was definitely hard. Initially, it was hard.
And then it started to develop its own kind of ecosystem at the time, didn't you? You'd start to see, so, from a social media point of view, you're seeing struggles as well, and then you're seeing everybody trying to rally around. You could get that community. You did get that feel of unity for an issue. Looking back now slightly, what do you think that the biggest lessons were learned?
So one thing that, my social media, why it took off, or why I actually spent some time, like, I would be so tired at night, but I would still post a video on social media. And only if you know the Indian system, then you would know what I'm talking about. So I'm a guy who doesn't like, basically, I don't control my tongue. I say whatever my heart feels like saying. And sometimes it gets you in trouble. And I feel like I try to live without fear. But I mean, for whatever reality that is, I try to say, if I see something wrong, I'm gonna speak. I don't care what are you gonna do to me? That's on you. But it's my right to make sure that if I see wrong, I have to speak up. So what I knew, that if I was to speak up, that I could be basically captured, taken somewhere, killed, whatever it was. And no one in the world would care, and nobody would know. Yeah, but like, some people, my family would know, but you know how people can literally do anything. I mean, in India, people can do anything, right? So I know one way that I could escape that was to make sure that at least some people somewhere around the world knew who I was and what I was doing. And if I was to go missing, they would come after me. So that's how my social media posts started, like, to make sure that people knew that there's a doctor here from outside of Delhi and outside of Punjab. And if he was to go missing tomorrow, to make sure come after me. So I used social media that way. Learned a lot of lessons. I lost my thought. What was your question? Main question?
Yeah. So what do you feel there's some of the lessons that were learned?
Yeah. Lesson was follow your heart. I would definitely say to people. And I would say that, yes, I lost a lot of money from my pocket. I've definitely gone back in my career. I mean, I lost my interventional fellowship. I left my cardiology fellowship, which was something I worked so hard for in my life. But the love I gained, I think what you have to say is when I went there, right? There's no interest. Like you just go there because you're going for help. And when you're in life, I think when you do something without any like expectations, you always get something back. And something that something is far greater than what you wanted to get back. Like, if I was to go, like if you were to go to like a protest and you say, I'm going to go there, I'm going to help out 10 people, and then I expect 20 people to salute me after that. No, you go to a protest and you say, if somebody gets hurt, I'm going to help out, and then I'm just going to come home and I'm going to sleep, and I'm going to have a whatever, a hot dog or something. So I think that was my expectations. Like, go there, go, no expectations at all, that I'm going to go there, no one's going to care, I'm going to help out, build or whatever, and then I'm going to get the hell out. So I think the one lesson is in life, take challenges head on. If you see something wrong, speak up, and don't be scared to leave your 9 to 5. Really, in life, I think if the cause is worth it, be ready to leave your 9 to 5. I mean, it's too early for me to say because I still have to go back to my 9 to 5. I don't know how that's going to be. I mean, I don't know what, it's too early. I think This is a question you might want to ask me 5 years down the road. Like, do I regret doing what I did? Because right now I don't. Like, I feel this was probably the lesson of my life, and the family and the friends that I picked up are so great, and it's a life changing experience. I can never go back into a situation like this again, and I would just tell people, like, look for something like this. It is amazing. It's amazing how much people cared for me and how much people love me. I would say, always look out for a situation like this where you can help out. But I guess, we'll see in 10 years down the road or 20 years down the road how this event plays out into my life.
You've obviously made a decision in terms of going into a political point of view. But I've seen some of your stuff that you've put out, and from a healthcare point, you were talking about debt management, you're talking about the medical system, you're talking about the general healthcare and drugs. How do you then look at it from a doctor's point of view of those are the tasks that need to be done, and then you've got these political kind of aspirations as well at the same time?
So I actually don't have what I would say. So when we came there, right? When we came to Delhi, again, no expectations, right? It was different. It was like you just go help. And then what happened in 12 months? I spoke on the stage, and people started listening, and I started, getting an audience of different type of people who really needed my help, and it was more than medicine that they needed their, help in. Basically, there was a system that's broken and corrupt, and a generation that's being wiped out by drugs, a prior generation that was wiped out through whatever events that happened in Punjab. So it's definitely a challenging situation. Yes, you got the 3 laws revoked, but what does it mean in the long-term scheme? The same government that that made the 3 laws is still in power. So what happened was, right when this protest was about to be over, or when basically Prime Minister Modi announced that the protest is going to be over, life changed. Like, it was like a switch that went off. Like, what happened? People were in shock. Like, did it really happen? We were all caught off guard. Like, we were imagining this to go on till 2024 by then. And then what happened is I bought a ticket back to America for December 15th, I believe. December 15th. A lot of people, the word got around that doctor was leaving on December 15th. And what you saw happening was people started coming to me like, don't go back. Maybe emotional, whatever it was at that time, my head spinned and was like, what? I should stay, at least for a little bit, at least help out. And by the time, the Morcha or the protester, the main heads came up with an idea that they were going to go and build a party in Punjab. And they basically, gave me their look and how they needed my help, and I should help out. I said, I made it clear that, I'm not going to enter into active politics, meaning I'm not going to run for office with you guys, but I will do my best in helping you because your agenda meets my agenda. And my agenda was like this. In my life, I had goals. My goal was I'm gonna work from my my whatever age now till retirement, make a lot of money. While I was making a lot of money, give back a little bit, to medical, whether in India, Africa, wherever basically my help was needed through my NGO. But when I do retire, I was going to build a hospital, a free hospital with hopefully a medical school, a university, a school in Punjab for the needy. So that was my post-retirement plans, that I was like, I was going to save money for from that time on till basically whatever my retirement age was. And now what happened was that kind of turned the other way. So when I heard the unions running for office, I said, what if actually good people were to come to power? Actually, the system in Punjab could be changed, and I could work with these politicians, do my work and do my whatever I was doing, but at the same time, kind of work together. And that one hospital I was trying to build, I could build hospitals literally every 20, 30 miles all over Punjab, build schools all over Punjab, because I went to schools in America and I did okay. And I can take that way of learning and maybe look at the way, and I knew how Punjab schools work, and kind of combine the two, and same way work with the hospitals, and the same way work with the environment issues, and maybe could actually dream of a land of a Punjab where people don't have to leave anymore. That, how I left Punjab when I was 10, that maybe we can actually build that land. How we run off to Canada or run off to America, run off to UK. But why? Why are we forced to leave our home? Why don't people from UK come to Punjab? Why don't people from America come to Punjab? Why are we forced to evacuate other countries? So I guess, I don't know. Again, we'll see in 10 years, 20 years, what my decision was, or was it wrong or right. But then I said, let's take a chance. You know what? So what? Let's take another chance. I already blew up 1 year of my life. Let's blow up another, 2-3 months. So, for God's sake, whatever it's going to do. So I talked to my family and talked to my wife. I was like, this, what, let's do this, because this could, what we achieved at the protest, this could actually, put everything, how you say, cherry on top and laminate the win, because you can actually put into a system that can change the system and make sure that, no one has the power to build, make those 3 laws again. So that was a dream, that we would come back to Punjab and we would, we would form a nice government, a good government, because all the 3 political parties are corrupted, and they had their, they have their loopholes and they have their own issues. So I thought, what I wanted to achieve post-retirement, I could achieve very easily early. But in life, there's no shortcuts. We'll find out. So I think, we'll see how it works out. But my life is set. My life is very good. I'm a doctor. I can earn a lot of money. Some things you have to do in life, not for yourself, but also keep everything and everybody in the same way. My parents even warned me, like, what? People love you around the world. Punjab loves you. And, why are you doing this? Come back to thing. But I'm like, what? If people love me because I speak up. People love me because I took the chance. And people love me because I'm willing to go the extra mile for them. And if somebody's going to hate me, because, you never had this. People in Punjab never had this. No one ever came back from America to a protest for a year. No one from a protest went into a political scheme and tried to say, we're going to change the government, and I'm not going to run for office, but I'm going to have these people run for office, and then I'm going to go do this, and then they're going to help me do this. So that idea, I think not just in Punjab, but to a lot of people is like a foreign idea. Could this happen? So I think that acceptance, I'm not sure how much of that idea is accepted, but I don't care. You can't care, because when deep inside that what you're trying to achieve could actually make a big difference, more than what you did in Delhi. So I'm willing to take that chance, and that's why I'm here, and that's why I'm spending my time trying to see if we can actually make a real change in Punjab.
I think worldwide, people have a very similar position or opinion on politicians. how do you keep your philosophy away from being contaminated like that, or are you already getting some of that contamination coming in there? And then the last bit is, because you said about kind of, let's say, the Western viewpoint, how are you going to make it sure that it's very inclusive as well? Because you're working with so many different communities, so many faiths and religions. How do you intend to kind of unify everybody in that way?
So I think you unify people if you're unified inside. Like if you actually hold mankind far greater than any divisions, then I think you're able to kind of speak up like that. Like you can't speak something if you don't really believe it. Maybe you can, I don't know. For how long, I'm not sure. But I think the way I was taught, the way my dad or even my religion basically teaches me, is to treat people equally. Like, you're no better than anybody else. So no. So I think, I try to do my best, and I think, what there was a great quote I read once. I think it said something about, if you, to be a revolutionary, you have to love, I think, life or something. Basically means it, uh, to actually make a change, you have to be able to sacrifice everything that you have, and you have to love the people that you're doing it for. That's the only way you can sacrifice in life. If you love the cause far greater than yourself. I don't know if I made sense, but
Yeah.
love the cause far greater than yourself. That is the only way, you can actually make a change. So politics is bad. Politics is surely bad, because the way you've kind of sensed it, because I guess your background and the way people are around you, they say politics is bad. So you say, oh, politics is bad. But is it really bad? Or is it the people that made it bad? What if you can come in and actually, go like this? So, and that's why I think I didn't enter into active politics. And I'm sitting in as a pressure group. I consider myself in the background as a pressure group, that, hey, I will support you as long as you're like this. But as soon as you deviate, yes, I'm not going to leave you. It's not like I'm going to, if you make a mistake and I'm going to say, hey, look, listen, this guy made a mistake. No, I will be there. I will call you out. Not because I want to call you out and make you look bad, but call you out because I supported you, because I felt you were going to actually make a change. And if you deviate, I'm going to call you out before it's too late, before you actually form the government, or you actually come into power and you actually make a mistake. So what happened was, we formed a party, right? We formed SSM, or unions formed SSM, and the issue became, there were a lot of issues. I'm not sure how much your viewers understand these issues. I don't know how in depth I should go into these issues, but the issues were alliances and these things. And some people wanted alliance, some people didn't want alliance. That wasted a lot of time. And every day you're losing time. You already had only a month and a half or 2 months left before the election. You have no money. Your party is new. You have no money. I made sure to tell them, like, hey, no one can ask for money, because one thing that people in India sometimes do, or people around the world do, is they abuse people. And one way to abuse people is take somebody's money without actually offering anything at all. So I said, until we have an agenda, until you give us 117 good people, until we know for sure that you actually mean well, no money. Don't give us any money. So imagine a party, no money, against time. So many people who all are considered presidents of their union, so leaders coming together and saying, we're gonna pick one leader, and everybody else is gonna be a follower from now on. Like it's amazingly hard. Trust me, it was hard enough to stay together in Delhi, and now you're doing this in Punjab. So it's hard. It's exhausting. And when you know that this is your goal, and somebody else's goal is here, and somebody else's goal is here, and somebody's goal here, and you're trying to connect everybody to come to a common goal. Even two brothers don't have a common goal, and they fight over clothes. And like, we have I don't know if you have a brother, but if you're a brother and sister, you fight over little things. Imagine no blood connection, and your goal is like, I'm not gonna do anything for myself. I'm not gonna put any in pocket. I'm gonna end corruption, end drugs. I'm gonna work for just Punjab. Like selfless politics, which is probably not easy. So try to imagine that you're building a party that says selfless politics. So obviously it was hard, and obviously because we were going against time, bad. or some mistakes were made in the way probably tickets were given, but we're still working it through, right? We're still trying to work with each other. And I've talked to the unions and say, hey, listen, we're not perfect, we're going to make mistakes, let's support the good candidates, take away the bad candidates, because there's still some great candidates that have been put out that Punjab should be really proud of. For the first time, we have young females or young women fighting in an election. For the first time, you have like a 25-year-old doctor fighting an election, who gave up his American visa to be with me at the border. You have like these these elderly people who give up their life, like literally blood, sweat, and tears at the borders, who are fighting election. So we have a great mix of people. So I said, what? So what if a few mistakes are made? We're fighting for a common cause, and something really good can come out of this. So we're gonna keep going, and we're gonna keep going, and we're gonna try to support the good candidates. Again, one thing in India, I don't know how much it is in where you're coming from, but in India, there's this concept that we vote for the party. We don't vote for the candidate. Like, who cares the candidate is corrupt and bad and whatever. But if the party kind of matches our ideology, then we're gonna vote for the party. Right? So that's what's going on in Punjab. And what I'm trying to tell them is, don't vote for us. Don't vote for SSM. Vote for the candidate. If you like your local candidate, vote for him. If SSM has given you better candidates than the other political parties, will come into power. And the bad candidates that we gave you, don't vote for them. That's a lesson for us. Like, hey, people want these good candidates, but if you elect the bad candidates, again, that's a bad thing for the thing. But for me, it's a real challenge. Now, what I'm going to do is, for the next 20 days of whatever's left in this election time, I'm going to pick out those good candidates, whatever I consider good. Again, it's your consideration against my consideration. Like, somebody's good could be my bad, or my bad could be good. So I never say, hey, my good is everybody's good. My good is my good. If you agree with my thinking, then support my candidates. We're going to stay in the thing, and we're going to say Congress is bad, Akalis are doing horrible, Aam Aadmi Party has issues. So we're going to vote for the SSM candidates, but we're only going to vote for the candidates who are actually kind of meet our expectations. They're coming in, they have no corrupt background. They actually have backgrounds where they have shown that they're willing to work for Punjab, and they have ideas which actually can take Punjab forward. So only those candidates I will support. And I've openly said, I don't hold any positions in SSM. I'm not running an election for SSM. So I don't care what they say. I support you, but I only support your candidates, and I only support you as long as you have, you're going through, you're fighting the right way with the right principles.
Obviously, you've mentioned a little bit about your faith. How much do you have to rely on your faith in terms of to build up that resilience for the various things that you've got to give your attention to?
It's so odd. I don't know how faith works with me. It's very different. Like, everybody's faith is different. I just know that there's this God, there's this Almighty that's kind of looking over me. I just know that. Like, I just know that as long as I do right, and as I do my best, I'm not going to say I do right. As long as I do my best, and let's say I make a mistake. Let's say I yell at somebody today, or I curse at somebody today, or let's say make somebody feel really bad today. But as long as I know by the end of the day, like, hey, you really messed up today, you made a mistake, and I realize, and maybe I try to go back and correct that mistake, that God is going to be with me. And I think God has been with me for a lot of part of my life, from, again, medical school, like being an immigrant. Again, that part of my life where I came to America, struggled through a lot. I don't know how on God's earth I became a doctor, let alone, a tutor and cardiologist and whatever else I'm going to achieve in my life. But I know I became that because I was always honest to myself. I never, whatever I did in my life, I did with passion. Like, I was honest to my parents. I was honest to my friends. I was honest to my family. I was honest to my work. I was honest to my education. And now I'm honest to my politics. Like, if I'm part of this politics, I don't care. I don't want anything. I don't want anything from you. All I wanted to do was help my people. And if you mess up, and if you're not part of that plan, I'm going to call you out. I'm going to say, hey, you messed up. And I'm going to say to my people, hey, listen, guys, I'm really sorry. I tried. Stuff didn't work out the way I was. I'm really sorry. But better luck next time. I'm gonna go practice my medicine. So that I already have a plan. Like, hey, I'm just gonna say I apologize. I messed up. I tried my best. It wasn't for me. Let me go back to my work, and I'll keep doing my NGO stuff. I'll keep supporting and pumping money into Punjab. But this stuff wasn't what I was built for. But I did it with my open heart. Like I mean well. I know some of you might hate me, but you know what? Deep inside, I felt Punjab needed me. I knew my mothers needed me, my sisters needed me. I knew the way they talked to me at the border. You only have to be in my situation, my shoes, to realize how much people love me and how much they expect out of me. When people expect so much out of you, you cannot put yourself first. And one example, the way one old man, talked to me at the borders when they were trying to kind of, convince me to go into this with SSM and politics. We're like, imagine this: you're sitting at a shore and Punjab is drowning. What would you do? Like, you call yourself a Samaj Sevik, or I don't know what the English is there for. What is the English for Samaj Sevik? Do you know? Like people who do like NGO, service people, NGO people. Like, so say imagine you call yourself, you love humanity, and humanity is drowning over there, and you're gonna say, what? I'm not gonna go save that. I'm a Samaj Sevik, or I'm a whatever. So what they were telling me is Punjab's political situation is a mess. It needs help. Go and help out if you really love Punjab. So that's when I said, I'm gonna go. So I'm trying. I'm gonna try my best. I'm gonna give it my all. And if it doesn't work out, listen, we're gonna keep trying, and we're gonna keep building, and we're gonna keep trying the other ways. Our end goal should be that we want to see Punjab one day where people don't have to leave their homes for another land. That is my ultimate goal. And everybody here has equal opportunity to healthcare and education. That is my ultimate goal. No corruption, no drugs. I want to see my people happy. And if it's, if that's your goal, then we have a similar goal.
Doctor, just coming, I'm going to bring this to a close in a second, but I give everyone an opportunity. It's called the Bandwagon Podcast. So I allow everybody to kind of either jump on a bandwagon or jump off a bandwagon. Is there something, or just generally get something off their chest? Is there anything that you feel like you want to get off your chest?
No, I just want to thank you, man. I just want to thank all the NRIs, so many people who just, I know I did something, and I was part of the hundreds of thousands who did, but you somehow found love for me, and you found love from my family. You called my dad, and you called my mother, and you called my sister, you called my wife to thank them. And when I go to you, and you're older than me, and you still try to touch my feet, and you cry when you hug me, and you call me in my bad days, and you realize there's so much love. And I think this much love I couldn't have gathered it in all my life's work as a doctor. So I just want to say to all the community, especially the Punjabi community, the Indian community, our diaspora outside of Punjab, I just want to thank you for being there. For 1 year, you were with me every day. I would post something. The only reason I posted because I knew you were watching. And all I can say is, I love you back. And I think we have a similar dream. The paths might be different, but let's keep working. Let's keep working hard for a better Punjab. And I think we owe it to our land. We are in a better place, but there are many people like us who are not. Who they all deserve food, they all deserve education, they all deserve healthcare. God has given us a lot. Let's keep loving each other. Let's keep supporting each other. Let's stick together and do our best. And I think all we can do is do our best.
Doctor, I'd like to thank you, for joining me. I know it's extremely late where you are. Really appreciate it. So thank you very much.